Hi, this is Eric White. Document Builder is a class that is part of Power Tools for OpenXML. One of the problems that faces developers who work with OpenXML is that of composability. Developers want to take pieces of multiple documents and compose a new document from those pieces. The problem is that document formats by nature are interrelated. The things that you see when you edit documents in Microsoft Word, such as comments, footnotes, headers, footers, are represented as separate artifacts in the document format. Each of the paragraphs in a document may contain interrelated markup. A paragraph may contain a reference to an image. Another paragraph could contain another reference to the same image or another image. One or more paragraphs could contain comments, and those comments are represented as interrelated markup that refers to the comments part. The comment itself can also contain an image. Some sections contain a reference to a header. Some sections also contain a reference to a footer. Some paragraphs may contain a reference to a smart art part. The smart art part itself could contain a reference to another image. Any number of paragraphs could contain references to the endnote or footnote part, which itself could also contain a reference to the smart art, which contains a reference to the image. The problem becomes one of how do you select certain paragraphs in a document and move those paragraphs along with the related content of those paragraphs to a new document, while at the same time not moving other content that is not related to those paragraphs to the new document. Let's take a look at a few examples of Document Builder in action. The first task we'll approach is that of assembling content from multiple documents into a single document. Here, there's a white paper that has an overview, another section, an image in that section. There is an abstract of this paper and an author biography. The task is to insert this abstract and author biography into a new version of the white paper. Here is the code to assemble the new white paper. The code takes the title of the white paper, followed by the abstract, followed by the author biography, followed by the remainder of the white paper after the title, and assembles a new document called assembled paper. Here is the assembled paper. You can see that the diagram was pulled from the abstract, the image was pulled from the author biography, and the paragraph that contained an image also was pulled from the original paper. Another problem that faces developers is that of removing content from an existing document. The approach that you take with Document Builder isn't to remove content from a document, but instead to compose a new document absent the parts that you don't want in the new document. Here is a document that contains some paragraphs that have the style of note. The job at hand is to create a new version of this paper with those notes removed. Here is the example code to do that task. This example code queries the document, groups together all of the paragraphs with the note style, and groups together all the paragraphs that don't have the note style, creates a new list of sources, hands the list of sources to Document Builder, and creates a new document called newnotes.docx. Let's run it. And when we look at newnotes.docx, it contains all of the content of the original document minus those notes. The next example is that of shredding a document. Shredding a document means that you break the document up based on certain criteria and create multiple documents from that single document. In this particular case, we want to create a new document every time that there's a new paragraph styled with heading 1. After shredding the document, each of these parts can be handed off to appropriate authors and editors for modification. Here's the example to do this. These first two queries divide the document up into multiple sections, each section starting with a paragraph styled with heading 1. This last query groups together all of the paragraphs that make up a section. The example then iterates through all of those groups, creating a new file name for each of those groups. The file name consists of the word section followed by the document number. It then uses Document Builder to create a new document for each of those sections. Let's run the example. Here are the documents that were just created by that example. If we open section 1, we see the foreword. If we open section 2, we see the introduction, and so on. Let's go into section 3. Let's select the paragraph, highlight it, and indent it. Save it, close it. The final example that we'll show in this screencast is reassembling all of those sections into a single document. This example first iterates through all the files that start with section, creates a list of sources, uses Document Builder to reassemble those sources into a document named reassembledspec.docx. It then uses another function in Power Tools for OpenXML to insert a table of contents in the document. It then uses a little utility method to update the table of contents. Let's run the example. When we look at the reassembled specification, we can see the changes that we made to the scope section, and we can see that the table of contents was inserted into the document and then updated with the appropriate page numbers. If you want to learn more about Document Builder 2.0, the first place to go is the Document Builder Resource Center on openxmldeveloper.org. You can find other videos at that resource center that go into detail about how Document Builder works. OpenXMLDeveloper.org is a fantastic resource if you're an OpenXML developer. If you want to stay current on what's going on, then follow OpenXML Dev on Twitter, and feel free to follow me on Twitter at EricWhiteDev.